Welcome back to another episode of the Get the Picture podcast. We are so lucky to have Josh Bertelson here today. He's the Director of Security Systems and Technology at HealthPartners. Josh, welcome to the show.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
How are things going today? You're calling out from Minnesota?
Yeah, from Bloomington, Minnesota. So things are going good. It's we got a sunny sky and get some humidity coming in today, and it'll be nice. Better than snow.
Oh yeah. Well, being in Virginia and growing up in Ohio, we don't get much snow here. So I wish we had more of a winter season. So you can send some snow our way.
We'll try.
All right. Well, I want to start out by playing a brief game of overrated, underrated. Okay. Josh has not heard any of these questions, but basically I'm going to say something and you tell me if you think it's overrated or underrated. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. Overrated or underrated? NBA playoffs.
Overrated.
Overrated. What about the NHL playoffs?
Oh, that's underrated for sure.
So I married a Canadian. My wife's Canadian, and her whole family are huge Leafs fans. So it was, devastating Game 7 loss there.
I bet. I was actually just up there last week, and I was in Niagara Falls with my daughter for a hockey tournament. And
no way.
It's a different atmosphere up there with hockey for sure. It's always on the TV and always going. Oh
yeah. Yeah, for sure. I was just up there for my brother-in-law's bachelor party, and yeah, it was everywhere. They had the who was Florida playing? They were playing the
Carolina.
Yeah, Carolina. Yeah, they were smashing Carolina. So,
yep.
All right, coffee, overrated or underrated?
Oh, that's underrated for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the correct. Yeah, for sure. This one might be a little controversial. Microsoft Teams.
I think from my perspective, it's underrated, I'd say. I think there's a lot of things that are undiscovered that people don't know about that you can utilize within the system there in that environment. So,
okay. Do you have like a unique tip on how to use like some feature that you really like about Teams?
Yeah, so I took over a security operations center, and that team utilizes scheduling for the staff. So it's a feature that's kind of hidden, and so we use that for staffing and PTO, shift call-offs, shift pickups, things like that, and setting the schedule and managing it for the team so they can see under that one umbrella. It's really, really cool tool. So.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah,
learn something new every day. Yeah, we've like cycled between Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, and there's always something that seems to go wrong. So I don't like any of them. Okay, Minnesota.
Oh my gosh, it's underrated for sure.
I've never been to
really
Minnesota.
Really cool things that we have to offer here for outdoors, especially in the summer. And one thing is Minnehaha Falls. There's a creek that runs from Lake Minnetonka through the city all the way down to Minnehaha Falls, and you can canoe and kayak it depending on the water levels. Minnehaha Creek is the name of it, and it's about 6 to 8 hour float, and you actually just go through the cities and through people's backyards.
That's so cool,
and it's unbelievable from the atmosphere changes, from the neighborhood changes to just the aspect. So if you can do it in a day, I'd highly recommend it. You can get out and stop at like a fast food restaurant along the way. But you also got to play it right that the water levels, depending on how high they are, you can't get under some freeways and highways. And so if you can't get underneath them, then you can't portage. So you can't do the float. But there's 2 spots you can portage through Edina. But I think it's one of the most underrated things that people don't take advantage of and don't know about. So.
I've never heard about that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I will have to add that to the bucket list.
Yeah, and it's a service you can hire to drop you off and pick you up too, because that's the challenge.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, let's shift gears into. I guess it's kind of a nice transition. I always like when I bring people on. It's everybody expects you to talk about work, but I just like to hear more about you and what do you like to do outside of work. Like what other interests do you have?
Sure. Well, most of my family got two, I don't want to say young kids anymore. I got a daughter that's 11 and a son that's 14. So both of them now, I'm kind of in that second half of limited time with them. So really trying to take advantage of the time with them. We're very active in sports. So lacrosse, hockey, obviously, mountain biking, and then clay target shooting too for both my kids, and then fishing. So going up north to the cabin and hanging out up there with the family, and then traveling too. Really trying to do more travel with especially my parents as they are aging. So
Yeah.
just trying to take advantage of that time with them that we got.
That's awesome. I know, we tried to, there was a scheduling conflict one time to have this interview because your son had clay, what do you call it? Clay target
Clay
prep.
target, yeah. So trap shooting.
Yeah. And I was like, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's somewhat of a newer sport out here, probably about 10 years, but it's a middle school program and a high school program. So it's a feeder program in the high school, and they have state tournament, national tournaments. So trap and skeet, and then our the city I live in also has a fishing high school team for fishing, which is unique for us. Never had that opportunity, and then mountain biking as well. So it's
That's
pretty cool.
awesome. So it sounds like you love the outdoors.
Yeah, yeah. The non-traditional sports in a way I do enjoy.
Yeah, that's cool. So I have three kids. I have a 3-year-old about to be a 4-year-old at the end of July, a 1.5-year-old, and then one that is fresh, like just born in the last couple of months. So, you're in the middle of raising, but are further along in that parenting journey. Do you
Yeah,
have any? I know, not to put you on the spot, but do you have any tips
sure.
for raising kids?
Yeah, I always this is the biggest one I think is the days are long, but the years are short.
Hmm.
So just that fact of how when you're in the meat of it and the grind of it every day, it seems like it takes a long time, but eventually you kind of get that transition. It seems like 8, 9, and 10. When they get beyond that, it's like it even goes faster. So
Yeah,
enjoy the time you're at when you have it, and um, yeah, enjoy them. They're amazing little creatures in a way when they're young, right? And
for
just
sure.
exploring the world. So
Yeah. It takes about 8 hours to get out the door, but they are they are awesome. Like I love my boys.
that's awesome.
Um, so Josh, I really like asking this question because it usually takes some interesting turns. But how did you get started in the security industry?
Sure. Yeah, so when I was in college, I started wanting to be police. Before that, I really wanted to do the military, and so when I was in college, I joined the Navy. And then after that, I got into retail asset protection. I was playing some men's league hockey, and they pointed me some of those police officers that I played hockey with pointed me towards asset protection. So started my career just really catching shoplifters and investigations at Kmart and Sears. And then after a couple of years there, I moved over to a retail distributor and just did internal investigations. Started getting more in the technology sector. So I really, really liked working with cameras, access control, and that really piqued my long term interest where I'm at now. And so after the retail side, I had a opportunity to move over to HealthPartners Park Nicollet, where I'm at now, and have been for 10 years, and really just I'll focus all my work on systems and technology. And so, yeah, that's kind of where my career went. It's been interesting. I've always been someone that I know that I can control my future and really drive towards additional education all the time. I'm always trying to learn, always trying to grow, always trying to think of new things, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
where the industry is going to go, but also where do I want my career to go. So with this organization, I've been very fortunate to move up, but also create positions along the way. So I started as a systems specialist here in the Park Nicollet um, system, and then moved up to manager, senior manager, and now director as well. And so along that path of taking on different teams, and my team's grown. So I've just really created my own path within the organization and the industry.
That's awesome. And I think it's really cool that the organization allowed you to do that and to grow in that way. How big is the team now?
Yeah, so my system and tech team is 10 people. So we have 3 administrators who handle a lot of badging access. We have 3 system specialists who handle all the day-to-day equipment failures, triaging of work, new projects with construction, remodels, refreshes, and then one F, so programming devices. And then we manage all our preventive maintenance and updates and upgrades. And then I have 3 managers. One is focused more on projects. One is the manager of the access badging team, and then one is the manager of the specialist team. And then this year, I also took on additional 25 people in the SOC. So that SOC
Okay.
team reports to me now. And so it's actually a real good joining the 2 teams, as the systems tech team puts a lot of the equipment in, trains to it, and then now the SOC are the users of it, right, as supporting the organization. So.
And SOC, again, I'm new to the security industry. That's
Yep.
the Security Operations Center.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So we have 2 security operations centers right now, and our goal for the last 2 years has been to bring them together into one team. So we're working on that process right now.
That's interesting. And what benefits have you seen from bringing that SOC team, that SOC team together, and the technology or the badging team? Like, what unexpected benefits have you seen with that?
I think just more of definitely on our leadership meeting weekly is the manager of the SOC and my systems team can connect directly and more closely. And so the planning of the work that's coming up and the new software that's coming in, new cameras, new technology. We use, example is we use ALPR cameras, so automated license plate recognition cameras. And so it really streamlines the planning from when we start the installation of the work to the training and to the deployment of it. It really cuts that out.
Okay.
And then just also the team being in there supporting each other too, stopping in the security operations center, connecting with them and knowing that we're one team. So we have monthly meetings as a whole team, 30 plus of us, where we just share what's going on, what's coming up, and then any questions and training, any feedback too as well. So really connecting those 2 teams overall.
Yeah, that's really cool. Have you had any, like, because I imagine introducing those teams, like trying to build unity within those 2 teams. Like, I guess I think in my world, right, we have this office that I'm here right now. Mm-hmm. We have another office. Actually, it's a couple blocks away. And so one of the things is like, man, I feel really connected to the people in this office, but over there, they're over there doing their things. It's more of our engineers. And we actually have plans to move into a new office later this year where we're all under one roof and can collaborate more. And just that face-to-face, in-person interaction, I think, is huge. So I imagine that's been a benefit as well, just getting them, so that they know each other. And I'm sure there's been more unity there.
Yeah. And then also, like I said, we have a monthly meeting, right? So we get everybody so you can put a face to a voice, right?
Yeah.
We still have our 2 security operations centers that are separate. So we're going to be joining those 2 groups. So it's a bridge gap in once we get those groups together, right? Let's get them on digitally or, right, even sharing ideas. So in connecting, it really is helpful in the process. So.
Very cool. And, you got a lot going on. You have these 2 teams that you're managing. What does a typical day in your life look like?
Work?
From a work standpoint, yeah.
A lot of it is strategy. So as an organization, right now we are going through a rebranding. We have 14 different entities in our organization, different names. And so it's really strategizing and how we in security come together as one group. We started our strategy about 4 years ago when we came together as one security team across the organization. And so we're several years ahead of the larger group. But now it's working with the departments and working with teams and building standards across the organization and implementing our standards. We've had them since I've been here, but the greater organization hasn't always accepted that across the entities. And so now that my team's org-wide, it's really planning those and figuring out how our strategy of our standards and branding work across organization. So that's one big thing. The other one is just project planning from a construction and future growth. We always have a 5-year plan, and so every year we add to that. And so for our capital funding and operational expense, and then just growth of what we want to do with our system. So strategizing on how our 5-year plan looks, and then how do we accomplish those goals on an annual basis. And then connecting with my leaders too is just trying to understand my leaders and my team is just understand what are the challenges they see every day. Where are some of the things that we can improve on? What is some of the work we can offload or try to fix? Right? Is definitely we have if it's increased alarms in a certain area, if it's increased equipment failures. And then the other big thing I've been into in the last 2 years too is data analytics. So I do a lot of work in Power BI, building out dashboards for my team and understanding average calls to calls per hour to really looking at the data to drive our work. And so we've been into that for a while. So really just maintaining the data and the dashboards for our team. And that includes outside of my team, that includes our security officers and those leaders too. So building the dashboards for that team. And then budget management, obviously, it's a huge one for the two teams as we have a fairly large budget. So that day to day, and then like I said, the 5-year planning, just knowing where, planning the work, and then then working the plan is really the biggest thing. So, and then we hit pivots along the way, right? So we got to pivot and re-strategize or replan. So.
Yeah, that's a lot of responsibility. There's a lot of things on your plate for sure. As you look into the next 5 years, from a strategic standpoint, what are you most excited about for your operation in the next 5 years?
I think it's around, we started as a group. So when we came together as an org or as a security team org wide 4 or 5 years ago, we had 13 different video surveillance systems. We had 11 different access control systems, and we had 10 different ways, badges were made, credentials went on them, printed, those things. And so we're really down to, what do we have? 4 access control systems. I think we have 2 video surveillance systems. And so our goal is to get to one system. Depending on, capital investment is a huge thing, but that's our goal, is driving that, is really the efficiencies of having one system for video, one system for access control. And then we're hugely down the road on our one badge system too. So really implementing that one badge system with RemotePhoto also into our HR hiring process. So it streamlines my team's work. I'm huge on automation. So how do we use the automation in the future to help us and make us more efficient too as well? So.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there any, being a leader in the security space, are there any technologies that you're seeing that, maybe you've seen them at trade shows or, heard it from peers, anything specifically that's like, man, I think this could be a game changer for our organization?
Yeah, I think obviously everyone talks about AI, right? So where's that going, and then how to utilize that? How do we integrate those systems too? Not just ours in systems and technology, but even with IT. So how do we improve the process for check-in for our patients, our visitors, and our guests? I think there's a lot of good systems out there, and now with AI coming in, how do we come together as one, right, and automate that whole process? For our patients and visitors and guests, for security, we want to control our environment. So know who's coming in. Hospital systems historically have been open doors, right? Anyone can come in. It's like an open city. You come in, you can walk throughout the hospitals. So we're really trying to control it from the outside in of those entry points and use the technology to manage the process to make it really smooth for patients, visitors, and guests. So.
I had a moment so I mentioned my youngest boy was just born in the last couple months. And I had a moment when when I was visiting my wife in the hospital, where I was like, I might be a security person now, because I walked up. You can just walk into the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So I just walk in. No one checks who I am. There's no check-in process. I go straight to the elevator. I go up 4 floors, and then I go to the like mother baby wing,
Mm-hmm.
and all I have to do is just know the patient's name, right? And then they open the door, and I'm walking down the hall in the mother baby unit, and I'm like, wow, that was really kind of crazy that all I needed was just the patient's name to have
Yep.
access to this part of the building. And so never would have thought about that like 2 years ago. Never would have thought about that.
Yep.
But it's just interesting to see how that's changed.
Well, and I think we're in this weird, not weird, but unique time that technology is taking off so fast, and we have these different generations of like my parents' age, they struggle with using a phone, right? And then you have the era of my era where we're in between, and then you have the younger kids who are all about technology, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as a healthcare organization, we're trying to figure out as we build our new hospital coming up here in 2028 and a new flagship clinic, how do we utilize that technology and serve all 3 groups really, really efficiently? So when someone comes into one of our clinics or a hospital and they're of my parents' age, how do we serve them, right? To give them maybe a check-in line to come up to and make it where they like that personal touch of a human.
Hmm.
And then you have a different line where it's that in between, where they have the option of using the technology or using that personal touch. And then you have the new, like kids of my kids' age that all they want to do is use their phone, have an app, right? Have a QR code, walk up to the card reader or the QR reader, the scan, they get in. They've already checked in, this morning at their appointment. They checked into the car, whatever it is, right? So how do we serve all kind of 2 or 3 of those groups at the same time?
Absolutely. That is a very difficult problem
Mm-hmm.
to solve. But I think that's what's really cool about your organization is you're thinking about the different segments inside your population and their preferences, and like, because you can't, it's interesting. A lot of people are like, oh, we have to do this thing. Well, I'm not hearing a lot of people talk about like with the new technology, right? We got to do this new technological thing. I'm not hearing a lot of people talk about, well, what about the older generation who are really going to struggle with that, right? Are we going to, in service of this younger group, make the older groups experience less than satisfactory? Like, so that's really cool that you're taking a nuanced approach there. And how can we serve each of these groups and meet them where they're at?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I want to shift gears into just your experience with RemotePhoto and the product and how it's worked for you. So before you had RemotePhoto, what challenges and frustrations was HealthPartners dealing with?
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, we had 13 different access control systems, right? And with that, as our team went org-wide, we have 32,000 employees. So we had an effort to create one badge. We call it the One Badge Project. So create one design, one way the photos taken, one way the background was done. And so our challenges were, how do we figure that out? Right? Do we do a bunch of photo booths, which we started with? We had 10 photo booths, and so we started bringing colleagues in and taking those photos. But being that we have 150 plus, clinics and sites and 8 hospitals, how do we efficiently do that in a time frame? Um, and so we, looked at CloudCard. We found you guys at ISC West. I know that you guys weren't there. It was kind of funny because you guys weren't there, but I went to the HID booth, and we had an idea and a goal of when we went there prior to ISC of what we wanted to accomplish, and what we wanted to find was a service that could help us, take photos remotely, try to figure out how we change the backgrounds. And so when I was there, I stopped at the HID booth and asked one of the salespeople, and they didn't know, but they pointed me towards one of their technicians who had heard of you guys, and at the time you were CloudCard. I think that was
Yep.
in around 2022. And so I found your website, right, and reached out to Tyler, and we had a meeting the next day. And so just finding out that you guys were able to really streamline our process, figure out a way that we could have a lot of our large 32,000 colleagues and vendors and contractors submit a photo remotely. That was huge in streamlining our process because we didn't have consistency at the time. We were striving towards it with our photo booths, but we were really missing the fact of getting that influx of photos. Right, we were a lot of planning around how do we get departments into on a time frame. How do we plan and get the departments in to come in and take the photos? So this allowed us to really put the work on the individual, right, to
Mm-hmm.
submit their photo to get it in, versus people coming in on a schedule. We're able to manage a lot more with the Cloud Card app or Remote Photo app. So
Yeah. Yeah. And Cloud Card's the company, RemotePhoto is
yeah,
the product. So,
yeah,
but everybody it was Cloud Card online photo submission.
yeah,
And, because online photo submission is such a mouthful, everybody called us Cloud Card. So eventually we're like, okay, we need to, rebrand our product to Remote Photo. And I think that was at the HID booth. I think that was Andrew, if I remember
okay,
correctly.
okay,
And so shout out to Andrew for
yeah.
the shout out.
I mean, that was my, I think within my first hour of being there on Monday or Tuesday it was, and we had met our goal already, right? And then meeting with Tyler and finding that this could be a
All
real
right,
good.
time to wrap it up. We're going to get
Yeah,
early flights
yeah,
home.
exactly. So
Nice. So you talked about earlier establishing this one badge program, continuity with the images, eliminating those photo booths. How did that specific problem, that challenge you were facing, impact you?
I think two ways. One was time for the staff, and then the second is just more the financial portion. This really allowed us to cost savings, both in time for our colleagues to come into the photo booths. We could skip that process, right? So it saves time to the organization have to cut out for colleagues to come into one of our photo booths. And then the second one was we did look at hiring a service to go out to all the sites and take pictures. And so with bringing in remote photo, that this saved us both time and money for all of our colleagues, and money to the organization as well. So
Great. Yeah, and that kind of went to my next question because I was wondering, like, what solutions did you try before remote photo? I think you mentioned two of them now, like the photo booth, the hiring a service to go out and actually capture those images. Is there anything else that you tried? And then, what were some of the limitations around those solutions?
yeah, so the photo booths the photo booths we're going to have. That's something I don't think we can get away from because I look at when I talked about earlier different generations, right, and
Yeah.
people that don't maybe have it sounds weird, but a cell phone with the ability to take a selfie right now. There's some people still out there with flip phones. So still having the availability of a photo booth allows those individuals maybe that are technology challenged that we hire to come into somewhere, right? That like that personal touch. So we'll continue to do that just on a limited basis. Um, and then hiring a temp that we looked at was really expense to us, right? The other things that we did look at, we had one site that lined up a lot of their colleagues on their own and used an iPad to take pictures of them, and then they submitted it that way, which was
Okay.
actually a really efficient way, I thought. It got our photos to us, and we were able to still put them into Cloud Card or Remote Photo and change the background and go through all that. So um, those are a couple
Yeah,
different ways.
that's great. I always it's always interesting to me. Okay. There's, especially in healthcare, you got all these people, you got to capture photos in a short period of time when you're doing a rebadge or
Yeah.
even for regular onboarding. How do people think about this problem and where do they go to solve it?
Yeah.
So what,
Well, for
yeah,
us,
go
like
ahead.
one of our concepts from the beginning was to really break it into two phases. One is we know we have to do this rebadge, right? The one badge project. What's phase two of the project was to bring remote photo into our daily business and new hires. So there's going to be a point here, and we're planning for it, that once we're done with the rebadge and we start the new hires, we want this to go into our HR process where once the job offer goes out and they have to fill out all their information, they also get a link so that they can submit their photo to us. We get that photo weeks ahead, 6-8 weeks ahead. And then we can have the badge printed and ready to go based on that. So there's still some of our services now that when their first day, when they come in, they get their photo, right, and they want their badge right away. So we're really trying to move away from that and have the information ahead of time. So
absolutely. And it's what you're doing is you're trying to solve the problem upstream,
yep.
right? Because if you solve that problem during the photo continuity, the photo update problem upstream, you're not going to have to deal with it later, right? If you can just solve it during that onboarding process.
Yeah,
of course the photos they'll get old eventually, but
what's that?
They'll get old eventually, right? 5 years you might need to do another rebadge to update the photos, but at least you'll have something that's meets the requirements, right? And it's updated.
Yep, I would agree.
The other thing I just wanted to touch on real quick is like our vision for the product is the analogy I've been using is like we want to be the Amazon of ID photo delivery. Like you think about when I used to live in Columbus, Ohio, I live in a small town now, Lynchburg, Virginia. But in Columbus, I could go on my Amazon app, find the product that I want, and click buy now.
Yeah.
And 2 hours later, that product that I just bought was on my doorstep. And all the complexity that goes along with picking that product off the shelf, packing it up, putting the label on it, shipping it out. I mean, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. But from the customer standpoint, I'm just like, I click a button and there's a package on my door 2 hours later. And I remember the first time that happened, it wowed me. I was like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
And that's the experience I want to create with RemotePhoto, where the photo capture process is initiated. And then next thing you know, you guys have a photo ready for your one badge program.
Yep. Well, even one step closer, I know we're working on is once that photo from CloudCard comes down into our server, putting it directly up into our access control system, into our Oracle ERP, right, to everything. So then it goes into Teams, loads into everywhere automatically. And that's what I was saying earlier, is I'm big on automation. So we take away some of those kind of timely steps, right? And what can I do with my team to make them more efficient and focus more on the work? So I 100% agree with you on that, right? How do we make it easier?
Yeah, we just want photos to happen, and get to wherever they need to go. So yeah, that's great. And I appreciate you guys and the work, the collaboration that we've had. I mean, I'm in ongoing conversations with Casey where she's giving me great feedback.
Yeah,
Casey is so. I got to give Casey a shout out. She is so sharp. She is hardworking. She cares about her job, and she's given us amazing feedback on the product. That is so important for us. Like, we have to hear and understand ways that we need to improve, because if we don't hear about them, it's like, man, how are we going to build features that help deliver that photos just happen experience? And feedback is so important. So Casey, if you're watching, thank you. You've been amazing.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up to her, because she has been, she loves doing access control and she loves doing photo badges and badge printing. And you're right. She's everything that, your partnership with you guys and everything that she's brought forward. And in the early changes you guys made for us during this process, from going from a square picture to a circle for us on our badges, right? Like, just those little things have made a huge difference for my team's work and for Casey being efficient, and Lori and Mike too as well. So we appreciate all the little things you guys have changed along the way. So, and taking the feedback. So.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we love that. So, anytime you bring on a new technology, you know this, there's some risks, mm-hmm. right? There's some unknowns. And so were there any hesitations? Like, what were those hesitations when you started those conversations with Tyler about bringing on RemotePhoto?
Yeah. I think that at the time you guys were maybe a younger company and you weren't into healthcare as much. I don't remember if you had anyone at the time, maybe one or two,
I
but
think we had, yeah, one or two.
yeah. And I think that was one of the things that was, we had a lot of feedback. Casey gave her opinion a lot, right? Which is great. And you guys did those changes. So um, for me is really was just taking the chance, right? Making the financial investment. And then when we ran into some, challenges, you guys really stepped up. So I think that that really validated any hesitations that I had in knowing that you guys were a great service. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that they're at the foundation of the relationship is trust, right?
mhm.
I think we took time at the beginning to really understand where you're coming from, where we're coming from. Okay, can we trust each? We know we might run into some challenges in the future, but trust is kind of that anchor, and collaboration. Like, let's figure out how to make this the best remote photo capture solution for a healthcare company
Yep,
ever.
absolutely.
So awesome. And then I guess this is kind of my closing question, but once you guys, we worked our way through procurement and all the security things and
Mhm.
everything that goes along with bringing on a new SaaS solution, what was the initial reaction from you and the team once you got it implemented?
Um, I think it was really positive, right? It was really the end user as a colleague who submits their photo, just the ease of it, right? I mean, there was some, initial challenges with, you run into those individuals like my parents' age that aren't as technology savvy, right? So there's some challenges there, but that's more of an administration thing. But with my team of, validating with the AI bot, validating the picture to the person's driver's license, to the name and those things, like that does make us a lot more efficient. So I think everyone loved it. So
Great. Well, thank you for the feedback. Keep the feedback coming. And Josh, we really appreciate you and the partnership and just being able to work with you to deliver an excellent remote photo capture experience.
yeah, I appreciate you guys and we enjoyed the service. So
Yep. Thanks for coming on.
yep, take care.